Hey, y'all. Todd here. Just a little prologue before we get the episode started. The last few episodes I've talked about, the free ebooks and the free audiobook. And I always said you could just email me, truckerdump@gmail.com, and I'd get those right out to you. Well, there's been some problems downloading the audiobook version of that. So there has been a bit of a change of plans here. You can still email me, truckerdump@gmail.com, and I will do that. If you want, I'll send you the links and everything. But if you only want the audiobook version, that's a 9.25 hours of trucking life, then there's going to be a new way to get it. And that's right here in the podcast. I don't know why I didn't think about this before. Of course, back when I was charging for all of this stuff, I couldn't just offer it for free on the podcast. That would kind of defeat the purpose. But now that it's free, I can do that. So eventually you will see, I'm going to go ahead and do this episode and then my little closing episode. And then you will see at the very end, the last episode, or I don't know if I'm going to put it all out in 9.25 hours or if I'm going to split it up into chapters. Haven't decided that yet. But anyway, if you just stay subscribed or following the podcast, you will actually see it pop up in the feed. And I may, if I do it chapter by chapter, I'll just do it, as quick as I can get them out, put them all up there. So each new episode would be a new chapter. So I'll do that. And another thing I'm going to do is put the audiobook on YouTube. So you could just get it there, or just search about truck driving on YouTube, or my name, Todd McCann. That's 2 D's, 2 C's, and 2 N's. Man, been a long time since I said that. So anyway, that's just a little change of pace. I will announce this in the next episode too. So, hopefully word will get out. And if not, oh well, it doesn't matter, I guess, that much. So anyway, just stay tuned to YouTube or to this podcast right here if you want to get that audiobook for free. Or if you want the ebook versions, you can still email me, truckerdump@gmail.com. So I'm going to talk about this right after the intro starts. Just ignore everything I said there about the audiobook, okay? All right, on with the episode. Trucker Dump, episode 199. Driving for Walmart.
Welcome to Trucker Dump, where you'll get one driver's insights and sometimes humorous views of truck driving and the trucking industry, and pretty much anything else he feels like dumping on you. This podcast is brought to you by AboutTruckDriving.com, resources that help you understand the world of truck driving through the use of stories and a pathetic attempt at humor.
Hey, Todd McCann back here with the penultimate episode of Trucker Dump. Yep, next to the last one, and, it's kind of bittersweet. I'm really happy about it, and I'm kind of sad about it at the same time. But anyway, that's not what this episode is about. This episode is about my current employer. Again, I have never revealed who I work for until the last episode, because I just didn't want any retaliation or anything. But since I'm quitting the podcast, I am going to talk about my new job because honestly, I love it. It's a very great job and you might be interested in it yourself. And maybe there's something in it for me as well. You know where this is going. But honestly, this is not the purpose of me doing this. I'm not trying to make money off of this, but I am going to give you my driver number so you can, benefit from it, and it will help you and it will help me if you're interested in it. So again, let me start by just saying, again, my name is Todd McCann. I've driven a truck for 27 years. 22 of that was with, as a solo. I teamed with the Evil Overlord for a little while. That is my wife and ex-co-driver of, 31 years. Yeah, something like that. Don't make fun of me. Don't say she'd get pissed. I know my anniversary date better than the Evil Overlord does, honestly. So anyway, she always forgets. Not always, but I usually remember before she does. But regardless, let me go on and say I do have 2 trucking ebooks available. One is called How to Find a Great Truck Driving Job, and the other is called Trucking Life. Trucking Life has a 9.25 hour audiobook to go along with it. If you're interested, those are now available for free. I will be shutting down the website before too long. The podcast will still be available. I'll get everything transferred over to another site called Libsyn, which will host the sites. But honestly, you don't want to go there to check out show notes and stuff because it is a minute transferred everything over. It looks awful. It's a mess, and I'm not going to go fix it, honestly, because it's not a blog site. It's simply a place to host my episodes. Also, all of these episodes will be available on YouTube eventually. I'm going to have a playlist there on the About Truck Driving YouTube page. And hopefully I will get everything set up correctly where if anybody goes to abouttruckdriving.com in the future or truckerdump.com, that it will go straight to the YouTube page so they can, honestly, that's what most people go to the website for anyway. Maybe they want to read articles, but they're not going to have that option in the future. They're just going to have to listen to the episode. So I'm sure that will turn some people off, but honestly, don't care at this point. I'm just kind of done with it. And I want the information to be out there if people want to know bad enough, but not bad enough to go in and fix 200 blog posts and format them correctly. That just ain't going to happen. Sorry. So anyway, if you want the ebook or the, either both ebooks, I should say, or the audiobook and the audiobook, boy, I'm stumbling all over myself tonight. If you want both of those, just email me, truckerdump@gmail.com, and I will happily send you a Kindle version, a, EPUB version that can be viewed in any other e-reader basically. And I'll send you the link to the audiobook, and I'll even send you the little questionnaire that I talk about in, how to find a great truck driving job. So like I said, truckerdump@gmail.com. So as you know from the title, you know now who I work for, and probably some of you are thinking, what the heck, Todd? Why are you working for Walmart? You've always dissed Walmart. Yeah, I kind of have. I admit it. Well, let me go back first and say that my initial experience with Walmart was probably 15, 20 years ago. It was a long time ago. And Walmart was a different company. I have to tell you, as far as the driving goes, they were so strict back then. They were so selective that, I mean, you had to go through, I think it was 3 interviews. I think you had an initial, like a phone interview, and then you went in and talked to somebody in the office, and then they eventually had you sit down with a panel of Walmart drivers, and they talked to you as well. If they didn't like you, I guess you just didn't get the job. It was a hard process to go through. Now, forgive me if I'm repeating myself, but I think I talked about this in a past episode, one of the reasons why I didn't like Walmart. And honestly, it was just a bias. I started my working career actually at Walmart. My first job was at Walmart, at the store. Before there were any super centers, I, did stock shelves, worked in the pet department, hate birds to this day because of it, because those little bastards bite. I don't like them at all. And, I really hate finding fish. There's always some old woman that's like, hey, I want that one neon. If you don't know, a neon's about, I don't know, a centimeter long, and they all look alike, but she wants that one particular one. Yeah. Well, that's what I dealt with there. Eventually, I was stocking shelves and everything, like I said, eventually got out of that, but I loved the job at the time. It was great. But when I came back to try to work for them, man, they were hard to deal with. I set up, sent in an application. I think I did it the old fashioned way because, internet wasn't huge back then. So I think I just actually filled out an application, like mailed it to them. I think that's how it went. But I talked to somebody on the phone, and the recruiter just basically said, hey, we got 3 interviews we're going to go through, and you'll need to be here for every one of them. And I'm like, okay, well, I drive an over the road truck. So, like how long of a warning am I going to have? And they said, well, maybe a couple days before we know. And I said, well, if I'm, in Maine at the time, I can't make it back in time. And she was like, well, you're going to have to figure something out. And I was like, really? I mean, I was like, I really got frustrated. I was just like, really? There's no way you can work around this? Like, give me like a week in advance? And they were like, no, if you want the job, this is what you'll go through. And I was like, this is so crappy. And I even told the lady, I said, listen, if I worked for you, would you want me to like lie to you and tell you I needed to stay in the area so I could eventually work somewhere else? that I needed it for a job, like, would you want me to lie and say that I needed it for a health issue or something like that? Is that what you would want from me? And they were like, well, I'm sorry. That's just the way things go here. If you don't like it, it may not be the job for you. And I thought, what a crappy place to work. I don't want to work there. And I didn't. But honestly, you know what? Something in the back of my mind always told me I was probably going to end up here. I don't know what it was. I don't think it had anything to do with me starting my working career, at a Walmart as a stock boy, but I don't know. Just something always told me I was going to end up here. Even when I had the job at Holland and I loved it and I thought I was going to retire there, something always told me that, like if Holland ever fell through, that this is probably where I would end up. Even though I didn't want to be here, I didn't want it, honestly. But as we talked about in the last episode, in July of 2023, I didn't have a choice. So I had to start looking for a job. I got to tell you, it's really hard to find a job that matches union pay. It's just really freaking hard, especially when you're trying to look for something that's home every day. I mean, I went to a temporary place just to see what was available, and I was getting job offers of like $16 an hour. I think the most I ever got was like $21 an hour, something like that, to drive a freaking truck. I mean, you can make $15 an hour at McDonald's. So I was just like, I can't say I was surprised. I knew it. I knew this was the way the market was. I've talked about it numerous times. I've talked about it in my books. If you're going to be home more, you're going to suffer the pay. That's just the way it works. And Walmart, honestly, is no different. But I am doing an over-the-road thing. I'm not doing a local. That is one thing. You can work a local with Walmart. They have day cab positions if you can bid on one and get it. But you have to live within 60 miles of the terminal, and I do not. Even my closest one is 71 miles, I think, something like that. So it's a little out of range for me. I don't feel like moving. I like where I live. I like the Joplin area, so I don't plan on doing that. But actually, I'm not working out of the Bentonville office, which is what you would think. I am working out of Ottawa, Kansas. Now, I'm doing that for two reasons. One, Bentonville was not hiring at the time. And two, Ottawa had a $10,000 sign-on bonus. So I was like, well, okay, if I got to try to get into Walmart, I will go with Ottawa and transfer down to Bentonville at the first opportunity, which I knew was a year. They require a year for you working somewhere before you can be eligible for a transfer. Now, I'll talk about that more in a little bit, but let me go back first and say that Walmart was not my first option. As I mentioned in the last episode, me and some friends at Holland had been, looking at other companies and considering some other things and, just trying to find a job. And I didn't really want to go to Walmart because I had heard like it was hard to get a good schedule and you were never going to get weekends off and all that sort of stuff. And, Walmart, I just didn't want to go there, honestly. It was not high on my list. But as I started looking around, I found like a temporary job. I found one that would just let me work as little as I wanted. And I was going to do that just to kind of make ends meet, but I ended up not doing that. Some other jobs just weren't all that they were cracked up to be. They're kind of these companies that were like, hey, you're going to make this much money if you get this many miles. And it's like, nope, I know the way that works. Those bonus systems, they usually keep you just underneath that minimum, so you're making crap money. And I had a friend who went over to one of those companies we were thinking of, and that's exactly what it was. It ended up being that he had to fight for every mile he got, and he was dealing with brokers all the time instead of, his dispatchers, and it was just a pain. I'm glad I never went down that route. But anyway, I was out of work for about 3 weeks. I finally, the evil overlord, she has a lot of influence in my life, obviously. She's my wife, and she just said, hey, just get off your high horse. Just go apply at Walmart. Just talk to him. Just see what it's all about. And if you don't want to work there, okay. And I was like, well, all right, I guess I could do that. So I applied to the job and I got a call from them not long after I applied. And, I really liked the sound of things. It seems like things have changed. I know we've talked about this a little bit in the podcast, and that they're not the same company that they used to be. And, well, that's evident here in a minute. So I'll tell you some of the things they told us, but, I had a really good interview with the guy. He was super nice, super cool. We set everything up. I would suggest that if you were going to, apply to Walmart ever, don't go ahead and do the background check. Don't do that. They give you an option to fill out the application and go ahead and like pre-do the background check. I would not do that. That was the only problem I had in this hiring process was, I went ahead and filled that thing out. So then when the hiring process got started, they sent me an email saying to go over there and do it. And I had already done it. So I went over there and I was like, do I do another one? Do I continue on? I couldn't figure it out. And then I had some trouble getting through to the right person who knew the answer. I was dealing with, the background companies, people who were, I think not of this country. Let's just say that. And, it was just not good. So like I said, if you fill in an application, just don't fill out that part. It will ask you in the process later on. You'll get an email saying, hey, go here and fill out this. It might take just a little bit longer, but it's worth it not to have that hassle. So anyway, the process looked good. They could not start me for a couple of weeks. They are, usually hiring, and then you start, what they call onboarding a couple of weeks later. I think a friend of mine later on, when I got him on, he had to wait like a month because they were so backed up. But, on the conversation with the recruiter, I lots of stuff that I liked. I honestly didn't like the mileage pay. It seemed low to me. And, he assured me that was because Walmart paid for everything else, all your activities, all your downtime, stuff like that. That's mostly true, but, it does end up paying off. That's honestly one of the things you have to get over with Walmart. Don't pay attention to the mileage pay. You're going to get the miles, but the activity pay really adds up. I mean, it really adds up. And by activities, I mean dropping, hooking, things like that. Live unloads. You get paid for all that stuff in a way. I'll explain later on. But anyway, I just want to let you know that, this kind of way they were, very picky and everything. Like they've really relaxed their standards. They used to require you to have like 5 years of experience, no accidents, no speeding tickets, like super, super strict. You had to be like the best of the best. And there's no other way to say it, but Walmart has lowered their standards. They just have. They're really trying to expand. I did find out for a while, some new transportation guru came into Walmart and tried to switch everything over to third party. And you still see that today. You still see like a lot of it's mostly grocery warehouses where you'll go in there and you'll see a bunch of Crete trucks or a bunch of Swift trucks or a bunch of Knight trucks or something, and they're actually hauling most of our freight out of there. And they wanted to do that all over the system for everything. Just get rid of their Walmart fleet entirely. And it was a bust, a complete bust. It was awful. They were losing money and they quickly got rid of it. I believe they got rid of the guy who came up with the idea too. So now they are 100% in on going 100% company fleet. So they are hiring like mad people. They've got about 14,000 people, drivers right now, and they want to hire more. I know in Ottawa, we have about 300 and maybe we had 304 or 5 when I started there. And, they'll go up to 350 or so. Then, they'll lose some people. They'll have some transfers out because Ottawa, Kansas is kind of in the middle of nowhere. And, it is a starting point for some people. But Ottawa was talking, even when I got hired, that they want to get to 400. And then the latest thing that they said is they want to get to 500. And there's even been rumors they want to get to 700 drivers. I don't know if that's true or not, but 500, compared to the 300 we got is a lot. So they are really doing a lot of hiring. They've started what they call an A2D program, which is associate to driver. So if you've worked at Walmart for a year, you can go into this program. It's like a 12-week school. They teach you everything the Walmart way, and they teach you how to drive. They get your license, all that stuff. It's a really good deal for Walmart associates because honestly, I think you start at like $24 an hour for the school. And you got to be away from home for a little while, to go to the school and stuff. But they'll, let you go home on the weekends and things like that. They'll put you in a hotel the rest of the time. But it's a really sweet deal because, as you probably know, a lot of those Walmart associates and working in the stores are not making $24 an hour probably. I don't even think some of the distribution center people make that much money. But, they're willing to pay you more, to learn a skill, drive a truck. I met some of the guys when I went to onboarding. They sent me to Spring Valley, Illinois, which is a big DC up there. I was a little surprised they didn't send me to Bentonville, but Bentonville is region 2, Ottawa's region 3. So they just kind of split it up. My friend, who hired down in Bentonville, he went down to Garland, Texas for his. So they just kind of have strategic locations around and they send all the new hires there. And then they, for 1 week, do their thing. And then they split it. Everybody splits up and goes to their own DC. And then you have a week of orientation there. So yes, the process is, a couple of weeks for the initial hire on, getting your background checks and all that stuff, making sure all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, and then they will send you to onboarding. And now onboarding is a process. It's a week where they just kind of talk to you about Walmart. They put you through some tests. This is honestly, it was when I was going through it, it was one of the most stressful weeks I've ever had, honestly, because there's just, at this point, I had no other options. I really, I couldn't find another trucking job that paid as well. None of the LTL companies were hiring in my area. I didn't want to move. Walmart was my last chance at making good money. They advertise, I think now at you'll start at $105,000 a year. I got to say, I made well over that my first year. So they're not lying about that money. So if you see those ads, and I think they might even be talking 110 now, I'm not sure. But if you see an ad for Walmart and they list an amount you'll make, if you're driving over the road, and by over the road, I mean 5 days a week, you will make that. So they are not lying about that. So anyway, I say all that to explain why this week I think was so stressful for me, because I knew it was like make or break. If I didn't do this, if I didn't pass the test, I was not going to, I didn't know where I was going to go, what I was going to do. So that was some extra added pressure. But anyway, here's the way onboarding works. They have you rent a car. If you need one, they'll pay for it, or you can drive your car and they'll pay you 65 cents a mile. This is in mid 2023. So that may go up or down, or probably go up in the future. So don't hold me to that one. But, I was like over 500 miles to Spring Valley from my house. So I drove it and got paid for it. When you get there, you have, they pay for a hotel. It's not a rat trap. We stayed in a Holiday Inn Express. It was super nice. And honestly, because it was kind of funny when I got there, they had upgraded me to a suite. And I was like, okay. And they said, well, you have a Holiday Inn account with us from your last job. And I was like, oh, I do. I stayed there a lot. So, they were like, well, other people didn't have that. So we gave you an upgrade. So we ran out of the smaller rooms. I was like, gee, what a bad problem to have. Anyway, it's funny though, because that big room will pay off in a little bit. I'll explain it to you. That was actually pretty funny. But anyway, in onboarding, the whole idea of it is to get you in there, to explain what Walmart's all about, explain some of the basics of working at Walmart. It's mainly to test you, but it's also to give you a rah-rah, the Walmart, why you want to work at Walmart, why everybody wants to work at Walmart, why Walmart is the best place to work. It's brainwashing. I'll just say it is a lot of Walmart rah-rah. And coming from a union environment, I was really not used to that, especially when they made us do the Walmart chant, which we did it like 2 or 3 mornings. And honestly, I've never done it since, and I've never had to do it since. I think they just have a problem. I think they still do it in the warehouses, before they start the day. I think they do stretching and do the Walmart chant and everything. It's kind of silly, kind of fun, but kind of silly. But I think they do that, but they're all in one place. All of us drivers are in and out of there. There's never more than, 4 or 5 drivers in the office at the same time. So it'd be kind of stupid to have a chanting. So don't worry about the chanting. Just deal with it. Just do it. Roll your eyes and move on. But anyway, okay, this school, like I said, it's kind of like a school. You go there, there's going to be other drivers that have gotten hired on. They're going to other places. I had like 3 or 4 others that were coming to Ottawa, and there were a couple of holdouts that didn't make it through the first week, and they got invited to come back and try again later on. So they were back to try again. So just to show you, this is not super easy because these 2 drivers did not make it the first time, but they liked their attitude, so they asked them to come back. And this is one thing they did point out in it. We're not only testing your skills, we're testing your attitude. We're testing your demeanor. We want to know what kind of a person you are. So they said, so like in our situation, it was the heat of summer, July. No, it was August. Yeah, it was in August. And it was like 104 degrees outside. It was miserable. But they came in one day and said, we noticed a lot of you are sitting inside instead of out there working on your, working on your pre-trip inspections, or, you're just sitting in the air conditioner a lot, and we notice that stuff. Or we notice that you're sitting under the smoking tent a lot and you're not out there actively participating. You're just sitting around talking. We notice that stuff. And they do. Because at the end of the week, when they cut drivers, it was those drivers who they cut, and I don't know if anybody in our group was asked back. I think everybody squeaked by who, was going to squeak by. I don't think we had any that came back. But anyway, what they have you do, and I do really like this about Walmart, is they have what they call Walmart expectations. So it's exactly what it says it is. This is what we expect of you. So you go in, and the first day, they give you the whole Walmart speech, and then they take you out on the course and they tell you this is the way we want things done. And they have the Walmart way. So they take you out there. A guy, they have like a trainer who runs you through the pre-trip inspection. He does it all for you. He shows you everything they want to point out. They hand you a booklet and say, these are the things you're going to have to cover. These are things you're going to have to point at. Now, anyway, let me go on and I'll come back to that. But, he runs through the whole inspection and explains everything. This is the way we want it done. Then they go over to the backing area, and the instructor gets in. He walks you through. The truck is parked here. You're going to pull up here. You're going to turn right. You're going to angle over in this direction. You're going to back into the spot, get out, and walk, do a 360 twice. That's required. Get out, walk around, make sure you're not going to hit anything, and then back in. Take as many times as you want. You can get in and out as much as you want, and make sure your bumper is within this rectangle back here. Don't hit the cone. Don't hit any cones. That's pretty much it, but they tell you exactly how to do it, how to line everything up. They tell you what they expect of you, and then they say you got to do that in 20 minutes. For the record, the inspection has to be done in 30 minutes. So that became an issue for me, but we'll go on. And then, of course, there's the driving test where they put you in with a driving instructor, and they'll take you down the road, and he's watching your speed. He's watching how you handle the truck, all the typical stuff. So the road test was no big deal. Just have to watch your speed, make sure you're doing everything correctly, wearing your seatbelt, all that stuff. Some of the instructors were very talkative. Some were just to let you know from the very beginning, I'm not here to be your buddy. I'm just here to grade you, basically. And, you just have to, you get a different instructor every day, by the way, too. For all 3 events, they give you a different one every day. So, you're having, different perspectives, basically. So that was actually kind of cool. I like that, because thankfully I didn't get stuck with the worst guy. There was one guy, nobody wanted him. He was super strict and nobody wanted him. I actually complained about him later on and to one of the boss guys, and he said he would take care of it because the guy was being unreasonable. But anyway, okay, so let's go through the pre-trip inspection. I'm not going to go through every single thing, but they do give you a booklet, and there are 5 things on there that are very important. And if you miss it, it's an automatic fail. And, that is one of the things, like I said, was very stressful, because when you're in a situation, you're trying to focus like this, you can just overlook something that is completely obvious that you do all the time, but you just, and this is not just all me worrying, because it's actually happened to me. It happened to other drivers while they were out there, doing their pre-trip inspections, and they miss something vital and it's an automatic fail. The good news is Monday, when you go in, or Tuesday, whichever day they start you on, it's either 4 or 5 days, depending on how fast they get through things. But the first day, they're just running you through all the stuff. You're not getting graded on it. They will time you and stuff and kind of let you know where you're going, kind of give you a little bit of pointers on things you could do a little bit better, but you're not graded. The other 4 days, they're doing the same thing, but Thursday, I believe, was my day. Thursday, I started on a Monday. So my 4th day was the grading. They graded you on everything. Either you pass or you fail. There's no in between. And, like for the inspection, they have like so many points that you can miss. They have a grading system for it. So do study for this thing. The backing, if you can't back a truck in a hole in 20 minutes, something's wrong with you. There is a guy online who talks about the process and how pissed he was because he didn't make it, because he thought it was unreasonable to back a truck in a hole in 20 minutes. So take that for a grain of salt. I'm just saying, if you can't back a truck in a hole in 20 minutes, you got bigger problems. So, anyway, back to the pre-trip inspection. There are 5 things, I'm not going to name them all, but, things like checking your 5th wheel, things like that. It's just vitally important that they do it, and they make sure you do it every time. Get out and check your ride height before you back underneath the trailer. That's another one. They're just very picky about that stuff. If you miss it, they won't say a word about it while you're doing it, but they will tell you afterwards what you missed. So my first day, I go out there, I pop open the hood. I'm doing all the stuff. I did they have you simulate the air brake test, the pumping of the air brake and doing all that stuff. They give you all the numbers and you have to recite all that stuff, but, you don't actually have to do the air thing, because that would just take too long. So I'm out there, I'm doing all my, tractor stuff. I get done with it. I think I'm doing pretty good. And then I get about halfway back on the driver's side of the trailer, and the guy says, "Time's up." I'm like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. I had barely even started on the trailer and 30 minutes was up. So this is why they set the expectations. They run you through it. They let you know where you stand, how bad you were. And then they just say, yep, you're going to have to speed it up, the next 3 days before the final test. And so that's what I did. When I went back to the room that night, I took it seriously, because like I said, I have no other options at this point. So I took it seriously. I used that suite to pretend like I was doing a walk around inspection. Yes. Anybody looking in a window probably thought I was an idiot, but I went through all the motions. I kept the book right by my side, and I went through. I pretended like I was opening latches on the hood. I walked around to the front of the hood. I pulled the hood open. I got down, when I was checking the trailer, even to walk to the back to, go check the tandems and thump the tires and everything. I would pace, 15, 20 steps, whatever it was. I would just walk in place and just, yes, this sounds idiotic, but I'm telling you, it really helped, because the hardest part of this test, and I told people, because I made such an improvement overnight that people noticed, and they were asking me how I did it. And I said, I went through the motions. I did it all. I raised my hands. I got down on the ground when I was supposed to get on the ground to look at underneath the trailer. I did all of that stuff. And the most important thing was I said everything out loud. I read it out loud. I didn't think it in my mind, because thinking it and saying it is 2 different things, because you are cooking on these things. You got to keep moving. You got to jump from one thing to the next. And that's the thing I did wrong my first day, is I totally screwed up by focusing too much on, look at the, here's the slack in this steering component is, looks good. And then after I did the whole compartment, I went back and kind of double checked everything. No time to do that. You just got to move from point to point to point, and they tell you a good way to do it. Start at the top, move to the bottom, do things in components, and, all the suspension together, all the steering components together, all that stuff. Check all the caps at the same time, things like that. They've got a method. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm doing it the long way around, but they have a method to do it. If you follow the method, you will make it. We had a guy that had like 30 years of experience driving owner operator. He knew everything about a truck, but he could barely make it done with his truck, just inspecting his truck in 30 minutes. That's how thorough he was. And, he made a point. And I said this to the guy one time. I said, what's more important? Speed or accuracy? And they didn't really answer the question. Well, the longer we went on, we figured out what they're doing here is not like, you're not crawling on the floor and looking for cracks in a spring. You're not. You're pointing it that you know what to look for. So keep that in mind. When you're going down through there and you're saying, that slack adjuster, this black, blah, 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 I'm checking the tires for 430 seconds tread. You're just kind of glancing at it. You're not actually putting a tread depth in there, a depth gauge in there and checking it all. You're just telling them what you're looking for. They don't tell you that, but that's what you're actually doing. You're not doing an actual inspection. You're telling them that you know what to look for in an inspection. Okay. So hopefully that will help. Also, you might double up on things. I had one of the guys in the group tell me that's what he did, and it really helped him out. So, instead of going through each thing and saying, the air brake the airline has no abrasions, the ABCs, the abrasions, bruises, or cuts. I think that's what it is. Yeah, something like that. Bulges or cuts. So you can say ABC, they'll give you like shortcuts and stuff like that. But instead of doing that for each one, you say, I'm checking the air brakes on, or the airlines on both of these duals, on the tractor. Do them both at the same time. I'm checking both brake calipers. Both tire treads look like they're at least, 430 seconds, and do them both. And that really help you save on time. I really didn't mean to get this far into the procedures of all this stuff, but this first week to me was just so stressful because, like I said, I was afraid I was just going to miss one thing. And I was praying that if I did, that my attitude would get me a chance to come back on Friday and try again. But they told us, they said, we've been hearing rumors that you guys have been saying if you don't pass on Thursday, they'll give you a chance on Friday. That's not a guarantee. So try to pass on Thursday, because they sent some people home on Thursday. They sent a lot of people home on Thursday. They didn't make it. They didn't put the work in, and it was evident. So I'm just saying, if you go to this thing, take it seriously. Okay. Because once you make it past this, you're in. I mean, they'll put your hire date at the first day of your onboarding, but you're not officially hired until you pass those tests on Thursday or Friday, whatever it may be. So they actually went a little lenient on a couple of the guys. We had a couple of guys I was talking to. One of them actually forgot one of the major 5 things, but they liked him. He was a hard worker, and they saw it, and they actually gave him a chance. Once they sent everybody else home, they gave him a chance in the afternoon to go back and do it again, and he passed. So, like I say, they're not the Walmart, as they told us in that class. Walmart used to be, we used to hire you to fire you. That's kind of what the attitude there. But now they're hiring you to retire you. They don't want to fire you. So when you hear about the strictness of Walmart, don't believe every word you say. Let's just say that. I mean, I know we talked about on this podcast that their phone policy was awful. We used to have a guy when I was working at Holland, he would call in and he could only talk on the phone. He was a Walmart driver. He could only talk for 9 minutes, and then he would get off the phone, because if he hit 10 minutes, that would, he could get caught for that. And they would check their phone records and things like that. He could talk 6 times a day, up to 10 minutes each time. That's all he could do. Well, now Walmart still has that, but it's only if you screw up. It's only if you get caught on your phone, and, it's like a punishment at that point. They'll have you do this. You can't talk on the phone very often, kind of a thing, as a punishment. like a probationary period to get you back on track, because they do not want you touching your phone while you're going down the road. That is a big no-no. Like they say, if you can do something, with one or two taps just to like start a podcast or start some music or something, fine. But they don't want you, playing with Google or Facebook going down the road. Okay. So just know that they're very serious about that. And as they tell you in class, as they tell you in orientation, they are watching. They tell you outright, we have cameras at every location. We do spot checks. I don't know how true that is. I know it is true somewhat, because a friend of mine in Bentonville has gotten a couple of messages on his tablet that say, hey, we saw you at store such and such today. You're doing a great job. So they're actually watching them. I actually got a message from, this one surprised me, but they said Walmart managers, not just transportation managers, but managers of stores, are obligated to tell on you if they see you doing something wrong out on the road. Like if they see you don't have a padlock on your trailer, or if you're swerving, or if they see you on your phone, they're required to report you. So it's kind of that whole nanny state thing, which is just turning off a lot of people I know right now. But trust me, it's not as bad as you think it is. But I did have one day, I got a message, and it was from some lady at some DC that I was, it wasn't Ottawa. And she said, I'm out of so-and-so, and I was heading to the truck rodeo this weekend, and I followed your truck trailer for a while, and you did great. Your speed was great, and your lane control was great. Keep up the great work. And I thought, yep, they are watching. Now, I've never gotten one that they actually watch me behind a store and everything, but, they do it. So just honestly, that's a good thing, because if you're a trucker and you've been doing it a while, you do tend to get lax on your pre-trip and post-trip inspections. And honestly, it's a good thing that, I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's a good thing that they've got cameras back there and they could be watching you at any time. That way you don't cut corners. And they do catch people, and they bring them in, and then they got to sit them through all this training and stuff again. And you don't want that. It's awful. Nobody likes to sit through all the safety training and stuff. So just, I'm doing a more thorough pre-trip inspection and post-trip inspection than I've ever done in my entire career. And it takes 8 minutes. That's all it takes. You just got to actually do the work. You don't walk around and just thump tires and look at lights. You can do a little bit more than that. Honestly, you don't need to a lot, because one of the things great about Walmart is their equipment is so well maintained. It really is. You take something into a shop and they just jump right on it and fix it if it can be fixed. There's very little wait time for stuff like that. Just really good in the maintenance department. But anyway, onboarding, like I said, you got a week of that, and then they will send you home. And then on the following Monday or Tuesday, depending on the DC distribution center, they will have you in for actual orientation. And that's where they run through all of their policies, their pay procedures, dealing with the tablet, all that stuff. It's a full week of that. And they'll put you in a hotel again. Again, pay you to drive up there if you need to. Decent hotels, like I said, pay for food, all that stuff. So there's that. And then for 2 weeks after that, they send you with a trainer, a mentor. They call him a mentor. So my guy was younger than me. Within the second day of watching me back and everything, he said, I don't have anything to worry about on this. We're just going to focus on the paperwork and the computer work and stuff like that. And honestly, that tablet is confusing enough. I'm a fairly technical guy, but it was confusing enough that I thought I needed all 2 weeks. And by the end of the 2 weeks, I still had a few questions. So I would call him up and ask him, here and there when I would forget something. But, it's just 2 weeks of getting in the routine. The first day, again, they do the expectations. The first day with your mentor, the mentor drives, and he does everything like he wants you to do it. Some of them are more strict than others. I would suggest on just going on what you were taught at onboarding. If he wants you to hurry through one, just don't. I wouldn't want to risk that, because he might be testing you. He might say, I told this guy to cut corners and he did. I don't want that. So I just did what I needed to do. So anyway, of course, mentoring, you got another guy in a truck with you for a week. You stay the night at hotels out on the road. thankfully, different hotels, different hotel rooms, thank God. But that is kind of a pain in the butt finding a hotel. But I mean, the good news is Walmart, you can park at any Walmart. So, that is honestly one of the best things about this job is you can park at virtually any Walmart unless there's a city ordinance telling you not to. We all know how bad parking is out here, but there's Walmart everywhere. And it's great not knowing, that, if you're trying to find parking at 11 o'clock at night, it's not an issue. Just go to a Walmart. Sure, you might, have to leave 30 minutes on your clock or something like that, but you got a place to park. You don't have to worry about it. It's really one of the best things about the job. So after a week of orientation, going through all the, the training videos and all that stuff, like I said, they put you with the mentor for 2 weeks. When you're done with that, they assign you a program, like a schedule, and they'll give you some options to choose from. This is all seniority based. They call it longevity, but it's kind of union like where, they post jobs, and really the job is more like, they have day cab jobs and then they have like shift positions. So it's like, okay, this one is an assigned truck. You get your own truck. And it's Monday through Friday, starting at 6 a.m. or starting at 7 a.m. or, this one you get your own truck. You start it, on Tuesday and it's 7 o'clock start or whatever. They just have like a specific time and date that you start, day of the week you start. Now those assigned trucks are hard to get, honestly. That's for more senior people usually. But that is one thing with Walmart. Everybody else slip seats. And that is one of the things my recruiter said to me on the phone, as he said, there's some non-starters here. If you don't agree with them, it ain't going to work for us. One, we have slip seating. We keep the trucks really clean. Trucks are cleaned every week, and they are. We clean them. It's not that big of a deal because they never get super dirty. So they have all the wash equipment. They have all the cleaning supplies. They'll give you a Walmart credit card. You can pay for cleaning supplies. It doesn't, it takes 30 minutes to maybe an hour if it's super dirty at the end of your shift. That's it. And then when you come in, your truck is clean. It's pretty great. I've been in trucks as old as, 4 years old was the oldest truck I was ever in. It was like a 2018. So it was older than that. It looked almost brand new inside. That's how well they maintain this equipment and how clean they keep it. So don't worry about the slip seating. They will also ask you about your drive, because you have to live within 250 miles of a DC in order to work there. And when he called me, he knew exactly that I lived 136 miles from Ottawa. And he said, are you going to be okay driving this every week? I'm like, yeah. But they let you know that they know. So just so you know, they've got their crap together over there, I got to say. So anyway, like I said, you get a program. They have extra board, what they call extra board, where you're just in a whatever truck. Say some guy's on vacation that week. You'll call in and say, take this guy's truck this week. So you can do that. They have other programs where they've got seven guys sharing 5 trucks. That's what I'm on right now. I have a Friday depart and I leave at 6 o'clock, which means I have to wake up around 2 o'clock in the morning on Friday morning to get to work. It's, a couple hour drive, and then I got an hour to load up and, put my microwave in there, my bedding and everything, and get everything situated, get in there and get my dispatch and get off the yard by 6 a.m. So yeah, they keep you running. You make good money. I don't want to obviously say how much I've made, but it is way more than I thought it was going to be. So believe them. If they give you a dollar figure, know that's if you're lazy. Talk to a guy who tries to go home as soon as he can. Like, he's older. He doesn't care about money very much. He works 4 days, and then on his 5th day, if he comes in and things are a little slow, he'll just offer to go home. He may have only worked 3 or 4 hours on that day, and he made $115,000 last year. So just to tell you, it's there. Now, granted, he is at the top of the pay scale. Everybody gets paid the same for their activities, but the mileage pay goes up over 4 years. So you start at a certain level and you get up to, 4 years later, you're making about 4 cents more. I think it's a little bit more than that, I think. But, like I said, I made well over 100 my first year, and I was, at the bottom of the pay scale, obviously, but I did work a lot of bonuses, extensions, what they call an extension bonus. So if you, every once in a while when things are tight, if they need more people to work, they will offer an extension bonus. It could be 175 if they only need it a little bit, or it can be up to $275 per day plus what you're working. So, I've had a $700 day was my best day, working, well, was it 7? No, it was 800. That's what it was. 800, with the 275, and I had like 11 hours to work that day. So, that's $800 in one day. Now, they don't always offer extensions, but they're available for you. Now, an extension, if you don't have your own truck, if you don't have an assigned truck, you do have to get out of your assigned truck. Well, that didn't make sense, but like I share 5 trucks with 7 other guys. So when my week is up, when my typical 5 days is up, I have to get out of that truck so the next guy can get it the next day. So they'll put me in some other random truck. Maybe I even offer to go in a day cab. It doesn't bother me, but they'll find another truck that's available for that one day. You'll swap over for one night, which is a pain in the butt because now you have to clean 2 trucks. But honestly, the truck you drive the 6th day, you don't get it very dirty. It's only one day. So it's, basically run it through the automatic wash, sweep, put the vacuum to the floor a little bit and you're done. Not that big of a deal. Okay, so I've been rambling on long enough. I've covered onboarding. I've covered orientation. I've covered training with mentors. Just basically, I can answer any questions, by the way. Just email me, truckerdump@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about Walmart. No problem. I'm thinking about putting out some YouTube videos and talking about it a little bit because this really is a great place to work. I got to say, they treat the drivers really well, cookouts a lot, little gifts here and there, keep candy around the office sometimes. Everybody in my office is super, super cool. You can walk right up to the terminal manager and, sit down in their office and talk to him about any issues you have. It's really laid back. The safety guy is not Mr. Nazi like like we've always heard in the past. He doesn't want to fire you. He wants to help you, so I had a little incident with a fuel nozzle. I was not paying attention and I pulled away from the pump, and I was like, well, it didn't go against my record because of course it's on my record, but it didn't like ruin my safety bonus or anything because it, wasn't a certain dollar value. So they're not looking to fire you. They want to help you as much as they can. Just get that out of your mind. Walmart is not the same company it used to be. They're great to work for. Drivers never touch freight. They do not want you to touch freight. Most of the stores you go to, you just pull in, you pull up, you back up to where nobody can get around you, turn on your flashers, back up to where nobody can get around you. Then they want you to do a 360 walk around inspection. And when you're back there, you take the padlock off, you put the paperwork. If they're paperwork, they're trying to go paperless right now, but just if it's got hazmat on it, it still has paperwork. So you just roll that up, put it in the handle of the door, back it up to the dock, hook up to an empty and go. That's really how quick it is. And you get paid for doing that. You get paid for the drop and you get paid for the hook, and it's decent money. So they give you 45 minutes to do that. If it takes longer than that, they'll start paying you. It's not much, like $15 an hour or something is what wait time is. But, now there are stores that we go to that we have to live unload. If you're dealing with that, it's going to be palletized, and they will, say you got 3 stops that day. And so you'll go, and the first store, you'll back in, do all your walk arounds and everything. Back in, they'll take the product off. You just stand there and watch. Sometimes you can help by taking a little sticker off and, helping them or whatever, but they don't want you touching freight. Supposedly, if they spill a pallet, you're not supposed to get in there and help them. I'll leave that up to you, whether you would do that or not. Let's just say it's kind of hard watching a little old lady, picking up boxes, when I could jump in there and do it. But I didn't say that. That wasn't me. But anyway, you're not touching freight. Like I said, they don't want you touching freight. They don't even really want you touching the dock door and the trailer door. But typically, it kind of depends on region. But in my region, they just kind of let us do that. We just do that automatically. I reach down there, get my, I've already got my lock off. It's hanging there. Break the seal, pull open the door, operate the dock plate, get it down in there while they're getting all their, pallet jack and everything and clearing some space for it and all that stuff. So anyway, they don't want you touching freight. That's the good thing. So if you don't want to touch freight ever, you don't have to. I'm just trying to tell you, this is honestly the easiest job I've ever done making. I don't know if it's the most money I've ever made because it's hard to compare apples to apples, because over at Holland, we had the pension, the company paid insurance. I was making good bring home money there too, but, making really good money here at Walmart. They have a great 401k with 6% match. They have a, company stock that you can, take that out of your payroll and they will match 15% up to a certain dollar amount. So there's that. I'm invested in both those things. So finally getting on with my retirement investing. I'm way behind on that. So hopefully I'll be able to catch up. One thing I will say is that Walmart's insurance is not the best. I was surprised at this. I really thought it would be great, but it is company funded, is operated through, depending on your region, it might be Blue Cross Blue Shield, United Healthcare, Aetna, depending on where you're at, they will handle the paperwork and all of the calls and stuff like that. But the actual money I hear is coming from Walmart. So the reason the Walmart is not like a lot of the preventative stuff is still covered, checkups and things like that, dental checkups, cleanings, all that kind of stuff. The basics, are covered, but if you have an event or whatever, it's not quite as, there's a really high deductible. I think it's like 5,000 or something like that. I pay like 112 a week, something like that. It's not horrible, but it's probably good, honestly, compared to other companies. But when you come from a union job and not having to pay for it and having like a $400 deductible and not, you're getting CAT scans for free for Pete's sake, it's like, it's hard to come down from that, but we haven't had any issues with it, honestly. But I would say that if Walmart ever wants to improve, that would be where they could do it. Just bring that deductible down. I don't mind the $112 a week for dental and all that stuff and vision. Just bring that deductible down a little bit. Of course, they do have different plans, where you can, if you never go to the doctor, you can have a really high deductible and pay lower premiums. They've got all that kind of options in there that they will walk you through in orientation. And you have up to like 30 days to choose all that stuff and get all that stuff lined up. But, well, I don't really know where to go with this other than, Walmart is a great job driving for Walmart. They have a particular way they like to do things, and some drivers don't like that. I honestly do not care. Like I said before, I don't care what the job is. If it pays me well and they're treating me well, I'll do what they want. I mean, it don't bother me to have to walk around the truck, do a 360 and, look at all my stuff before I back up. It doesn't bother me. Whatever. It's kind of pointless. Some of the things they have you do in a pre-trip inspection, to me, it's pointless, but whatever. For instance, lug nuts. I'll just say it. Lug nuts. My father-in-law always asks me how the lug nuts are going, instead of asking me how the job, because that's part of their pre-trip inspection. They want you to touch every lug nut and make sure it's tight. And I'm like, I've driven 27 years. I've only ever seen one lug nut missing. One. That was it. But that's their rule. So that's what I do. I do see guys cutting the corners on that one, maybe tapping, just looking at it and running a hand over it. But I do not do that. They're paying me well. I'll do the job they asked me to do. So you may think, well, I'm, an independent guy. I don't like somebody looking over my shoulder like that all the time. Well, maybe the job isn't for you. To me, I just look at it like it's a great job. It pays I wish I could tell you. I don't want to brag, but I wish I could tell you how much I got paid this year. I just wish. Now, some of that does include my bonuses that I got for my sign-on bonus. By the way, the sign-on bonus is not available at every DC. Ottawa, Kansas is one of them. It's $10,000, and they pay the first half of it immediately. I think it's immediately. Yeah, as soon as you get paid, I think, or as soon as you get hired, I think is when that check will go out. And then the other comes at 6 months. That other half of it at 6 months. They also have a driver referral program that will pay you $5,000 to get a driver on. All you have to do is they just have to give your name and your number. And, if they hire on, you will get a $5,000 bonus. Again, $2,500 of that is right up front. $2,500 is at the 6 month mark. I've gotten 2 drivers hired on here from my last company, and they both love it. They both wish it would have came earlier. So there is that. Like I said, I just can't stress how well they pay, how good they treat you, and how excellent the equipment is. And when they talk about safety, they really do mean it's one of the very few companies that they actually do, stand behind their words on that with safety. They really want you to be safe. They really want you to slow down. They're always saying it. You're going to hear it in orientation or onboarding and orientation all the time. Slow down. Don't get in a hurry. You're going to make mistakes. You're in no rush. There is no hot loads here, which there are every now and then, but most of the time, you're delivering stuff way earlier than it needs to be delivered. So just a great job. I just got to say, I'm really happy here. The only thing that is bad about it, in my opinion, is, and it's not bad, it's just comparing it to my union opportunity. Like I said, I was going to have an opportunity for a home daily job. Now I can do that here if I move closer to a DC and a day cab position that opens up, but I am going to take a significant pay cut. I probably will make less than $100,000 in a year, almost undoubtedly, if I did that. So at this point in my life, not so much. I'm gone for 5 days. I don't ever have to work a 6th day. Unlike Holland, I had to work a 6th day usually. So it's an option here. So, and it's week by week. You can just go in and say, hey, what's the extension this week? 175. Nah, no thanks. No big deal. 275 is hard to pass up, got to tell you. So I have been working pretty much every one that is available. I'll work it because I'm trying to pay off some debt. I'm trying to do some stuff that I want to get done, get some stuff paid down. So I'll slow down eventually. And maybe at that point, I'll want to move closer to a DC. Now, I did hint at it earlier, but I am actually still at Ottawa. I'm a year and a half into this job. I was eligible for a transfer, and I did put in for it, but to Bentonville, because it is, about half the distance to my house. But honestly, I have decided to stay at Ottawa. Now, you might think, why would I do that? Well, I have a friend that I got hired on here, and we've been really competitive over at Holland. He was the number 1 driver. I was number 2. Yeah, I know. I hate admitting that, but this guy is a efficiency hound dog. I mean, he really is good at his job. And he's hard, and he's younger than me too. That helps. But the guy moves like a lightning bolt. I mean, he's fast. His pre-trip inspections, everything he does is super fast, including talking, coming from me right now as I rattle it off. But anyway, we have been comparing notes, because I wanted to go down there. I wanted to find out how much he was making compared to how much I was making. Now, we have figured out through this process, we compare notes every day. What our activities were, how many miles we had, what our wait time was, if we had breakdown time. We send a little screenshot of it, and then we say how much we made. I made a nice little spreadsheet that I can put in there. Of course I did, because I'm a nerd. And I can figure out my daily pay, and then I can match it to what's in the computer at work and see that everything was paid out correctly. So we've been doing that every day. He does make a little bit more money than me, but honestly, he always has. So it ain't that much more. So I'm thinking it sure, I could go down there and save the mileage. But one thing I have learned is that Bentonville is the home office. So there seems to be certain things that happen at a home office that don't at other offices. So, I mean, when I go into my office up at my DC office up in Ottawa, Kansas, it's really laid back. Everybody's super cool. People are laughing and cutting up. Sometimes, we got the whole office in there cracking up and laughing. You can joke with people. That's not like that at Bentonville. It is a little bit, my friend says, you can do that a little bit, but like people there are more on edge because it is the home office. Like he says, for example, like it's just hard to get them to make a decision. Like nobody will like if dispatch, for whatever reason you haven't been dispatched, they won't just take the initiative and dispatch you. They're like, well, I can't do that. I got to call so-and-so or doing such and such. And my company will be like, or my DC, I'll call them up and say, hey, I've been sitting over here at this place for like an hour. What's going on? I keep seeing Walmart drivers come and go. What are you doing? I don't know. No, nobody's giving me anything. Well, they must overlook you. I'm deadheading you back to the DC. Okay. And you get in there and then they'll say, yeah, the main office called me and said, they weren't happy. I was like, well, you weren't doing anything with them. Like there just seems to be a totally different attitude there. Like my safety guy is pretty awesome. The safety guy down in Bentonville is a little bit more strict. He's an ex-driver. He's just a bit more strict. Now, one thing I was told early on is don't ever judge where you work, which office you work in, by the personnel there. Because at Walmart, it changes a lot. Not so much with drivers, but with office personnel. They come, they go, they get transferred around a lot. So just because I like my safety guy doesn't mean he's always going to be there. Matter of fact, he's really good. He's probably going to move up the ladder someday and I'll be stuck with someone else. But anyway, I've just decided don't mess with success. I like where I'm at. I don't mind the 136 mile drive. Some of it's 75 mile an hour speed limit. So, I get there in like 2 hours, 5 minutes, something like that. Really don't have much of a problem with that drive. I think I'm just going to save it. Sure, I'm driving in the north more. My area is running all the way out to Loveland, Colorado, South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin. I can get, over as far as Indianapolis or Indy and Ohio. I could. Never been over that far, but I could. But I can get down into Texas and everything. So I have to deal with more weather probably than my friend does out of Bentonville because he tends to run more in Texas and Louisiana and Arkansas and Oklahoma, whereas I'm covering more of the northern states. So yes, there's weather to deal with. But again, that's another thing with Walmart. They're just like, don't drive if you don't feel safe. Just pull over. Nothing's in a hurry. There's just no hurry here, really. I said every once in a while I get a load the other day that's like, can you get this load delivered on time in your hours? We got to have it there by such and such. It got overlooked. That happens very rarely. Usually it's like, okay, they give you a truck or they give you a load at, 6 o'clock in the evening and say, this is tomorrow's 2 p.m. truck. You're like, oh, okay. So you get there, and they've already got it open. They've already got it cleaned out. So you just, like I say, do your walk around stuff, back in, pull out with the other one, on your way. They're usually running ahead of schedule, even during the busy times of the year, like Christmas. Okay, this is future Todd breaking in because I'm an idiot. I went through all of that and didn't talk about time off at all. And it was very relevant when I was just talking about the weather because right now I am sitting in a snowstorm. They suggested we pull off the road and I'm going to get $15 an hour up until my 14th hour. And then I take off time. I take 10 hours off and then I put myself back on the weather clock if I'm not ready to go in the morning, if the weather's still bad. So I do that for another 14 hours. So, like tomorrow, maybe I might be sitting all day tomorrow. That's 14 hours of $15. That comes out to like $210. That's not that much money, but it's better than a lot of companies will pay you for sitting. So just remember that. But the more important thing is we have something here called ADP. That stands for average daily pay. So what they do is they figure up all your time, all the money that you made over the last 6 months, and then they average that out. And that is what you get for all of your PTO days. So, if you can get your average up to $500, mine is considerably higher than that, but, some drivers only don't work that hard and theirs is 400 something, so what you put into it, you get back. Sorry about the clicking on this thing, by the way. I'm holding the mic because I'm interjecting this. So anyway, the ADP, yeah, that's paid out anytime you claim a PTO day. So like with this snow day, I got $210, but I can go into the computer and just pay myself what my normal average day pay is. And that will deduct, say I need another 4 hours of time at my average daily pay to get me up to what I normally make in a day. Well, I can do that with one click of a button and it'll deduct 4 hours from my PTO time. Now, you might think, well, I don't want to spend my PTO time for that. Well, I get that, especially if you like to take a lot of time off. But here's the thing. With Walmart, you got PTO time out the wazoo. I mean, I couldn't believe it when they told me this, but you start earning PTO the second you start to work here, even in orientation. And as long as you're working, you are building up PTO time. And you can get up to a maximum of 21 days over the course of the year. So if you're working hard, I am usually hitting that by like November. I'm capped out. So whatever I do for the rest of the year is not really even adding up. But that's not the end of it. That's 21 days you can spend for anything you want. Now, they have like a schedule thing where you can, request time off for the entire year. And if you're new like me, you get 1 week is guaranteed. And, the longer you work there, the more weeks that you request off are guaranteed. But they're pretty lenient about working with you. You'll go in and I put a week off and I got that automatically at that time. But then I went back in for the days I had requested off and just re-requested them, and they just gave them to me. So it was just like, it's a formality when it comes to bid time. We're all bidding on jobs and we're all putting in what our time off is for the entire year. So there's kind of a seniority thing. So if you get at a place like my friend down in Bentonville has this problem where there's so many senior guys down there and they all request all the good times off, Christmas and New Year's and Thanksgiving and all that stuff, and good times in July and August when you're wanting to take vacation with the kids and things like that. And he's had some trouble getting some time off, honestly. He's got plenty of days to burn, but now he's having to burn some time in January that he didn't really want to burn. But it's that, or he didn't want to take a big payout on it. So and honestly, that's one of the things they do. They, at the end of the year, which our fiscal year starts in February 1st, I think it's February 1st, if you've got a whole bunch of days that you haven't used, you can carry 10 of your days over into the next year. And whatever you haven't used, they will pay it out. It all comes in one check. There's no way, and they add it to your current check. So, you're already getting a 2-week check. I forgot to mention that Walmart pays every 2 weeks. And then, you think about that, you're adding on, I think I'm going to have like 16 days of unused vacation, of unused PTO time. So you tack that on to what you're already making. That check's going to be enormous, and Uncle Sam's going to bend me over. I know, but I'm going to use that big chunk of money to go towards something I want to pay off. So that's why I'm doing it. I'm taking the short-term pain, for the long-term gain. But honestly, your better route would be to use it on situations where, like this snow day, I can use 4 or 5 hours here or there to make up for a bad day. I can do that anytime. It's not just weather related. So, if I have a day where they just say we don't have a lot to do, which hasn't happened very often, but you're shutting you down 3 hours early or whatever. You just go in there, click a button, and it'll deduct a little bit of time from your PTO, and it'll bring your pay up to that full amount that you normally make, your average daily pay. It's pretty cool. And by the way, that average daily pay, they base that on a 5-day work week. So the way to really jack that up is to work 6 days, because they still average it over 5, even though you're making 6 days of wages. And like I said, that 6th day can be pretty mammoth. I think, like I said, my biggest one was $800 in one day. So you figure that out, sometimes it's $400 or $500, sometimes it's $600, and that's all figuring into your average. So you can get really, really high on your average daily pay. And then when you go to cash out those days, you actually want to take a vacation. Now you're getting your full average daily pay for each of those days that you take off. It's really nice. So you can take vacation time and you're not losing any money, really. And if you don't want to take the vacation time, it cashes in at the end of the year, and it's just all that much extra money. But that's not all. I said 21 days, but that's not all the days you get. If you're safe all year long, you get 1 safety day per quarter. So you can use that as well. So that totals 24 or 25 days. I'm bad at math. You guys know that. So that's 25 days of PTO in a month, or in a year. I wish it was a month. Wouldn't that be great? No, 25 days in a year. Oh, and don't let me forget about the safety bonus. Not only do you get 4 safety days per year, just for being safe, you also get a safety bonus. Now, they base that on some weird formula. I'm not sure exactly. I think it's based on miles, but it's also based on activities of some kind. It's a weird formula. But anyway, basically mine totaled just under $1,200 this quarter, per quarter. So as long as you remain safe, there's that extra money to boot. Like I was saying, they're just throwing money at you over here. All you got to do is just work, do a good job, and stay safe. Now, I will point out that not everyone makes this kind of safety bonus or makes this kind of an ADP. Your average daily pay might not be that high. It all depends on how hard you want to work and how hard you want to go. We have drivers here that basically don't work a full day if they don't have to. They just like driving 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and they just don't drive past 6 p.m. even if they have hours. Walmart never says anything about it. I don't think they really like it, but they don't really say anything about it. So you can take your freaking time, but it's, if that's your bag, go for it. But that's not my shtick. I work hard. I go real hard. One of my managers said that, I'm one of the top drivers there as far as miles. So that all relates to, making more money on your average daily pay and your safety bonus. So I'm just saying you can work really hard and make a piss load of money, or you can not work very hard and, only work 5 days. Don't work all the 6 days like I usually do. And you can still make good money here. So, okay, I'll get off on that. Where was I? So this is a lot of PTO time. So I can't believe I forgot to mention that, because that is one of the great things about this job. And they actually encourage you to take this time off. They want you to spend time with your family. They say, don't get burnt out. Take some time. Maybe also they don't want to, pay out a big lump sum at the end of the year. I'm guessing that has something to do with it. They're going to hate my check when it comes around with 16 days of PTO on there. Good Lord, that check is going to be huge. But anyway, I just thought I would mention the PTO because I was a moron to not mention it earlier. Okay, so now I think I'm about ready to wrap this up. Is that where I left off? We'll see. Okay, back at it. So I have rambled on for looks like well over an hour here about this job. I was going to do something a bit more structured, but I just figured wing it again. Why not? Now, if I do put out some YouTube videos, I will probably break this up into like little sections. Have a video on onboarding, have a video on orientation, a video on training, a video on activities, just short videos that people can digest. I'm thinking about doing that. If you'll notice online, there are other drivers who do that, and they give their driver number, and they're like, hey, if you know somebody who works at Walmart, use their driver number, because honestly, it will get you at the front of the line. Walmart has a long list of applications, and they just flat out told us if there's a referral name or number on there, we will move that to the top of the pile. So I had a referral from Stephen Gorman, who is a listener of the podcast here and actually co-hosted a couple times. He works at Walmart over in Pennsylvania. So I used his name, got right to the top of the list. My friends used my name and both got hired on pretty quick. So that's what I'm doing here. As you know, my name is Todd McCann. I'm Christopher McCann to them, but they do call me Todd. So Todd McCann will work, but my driver number is 64804, which is ironic because that just happens to be one of the zip codes for Joplin. So it was really easy to remember. So I don't care if you work at Walmart or not, but if you need to put in a referral and you don't know anybody that works there, I mean, if you know somebody that works there in, well, I don't know, honestly. If it's not a driver referral, I don't know, like if you know an associate. I don't think they get bonuses on that stuff. It's only drivers, I think. But if you know a Walmart driver, use his or her number. Don't use mine. But if you don't have one and you want to get moved to the top of the list, use Todd McCann 64804. I will get a bonus. I'm not giving you half of it. I'm just not. I know that's the thing with the industry. Everybody says, hey, use my name and I'll give you half of it. And which, most of the time I don't think anybody ever sees the other half of it. But I'm trying to pay off stuff. I ain't giving you half of it. Well, at least I'm honest, right? So anyway, like I said, I've rambled on way too long on this subject. If you do have questions about Walmart, I will be happy to answer them. I know I didn't cover every single aspect of it, like the uniforms. I hate them, honestly. I don't like uniforms. I'd just rather wear what I want to wear. I'd like for them to update the uniforms a little bit. Some of the DCs have like polo shirts and stuff like that with the Walmart logo on them, but we're still rocking the old, button up, high collar, patches all over the shoulders and stuff. Not a fan, but hey, at least it cuts down on my laundry because I just leave that stuff, wear it at work and leave it at work. And when I come back in, it's clean. So, yeah, I've rambled on long enough. If you have questions, email me, truckerdump@gmail.com. If you don't have questions, get on over to Walmart Careers and check out, if you're looking for a new job. I will stress that don't be settled in your current job. I've talked about this before on the podcast. I think I called it job complacency or something like that was that episode. And it's where you just get in a comfort zone and you're just comfortable there and you just don't want to go anywhere else. And there's always the fear of, well, I don't know the other company. I don't know that other, they say this, but they don't really. I'm telling you, take a chance. I took a chance with Holland and I'm glad I did, but it was the worst mistake I ever did waiting so long. Like as soon as the Evil Overlord got out of the truck, I should have moved to LTL. I heard how much money they made. I just never believed it. And I was too stupid to follow up on it. Don't get in that position. So if you're happy with your job, great. Good for you. But it doesn't mean you can't keep your eyes open for something else. Because just because you like your job doesn't mean there isn't something better out there. And maybe it's equivalent lifestyle or whatever, but it pays more. Keep your options open. That's all I'm saying. All right. With that, I think we're going to close it up. Finally. And we will have one more episode coming up shortly. I'll probably wait a little bit on that one because I want to, if you have any feedback, I'll want to hear from it. Now, if you send me an email saying thanks for the podcast all these years, that kind of a thing, I will read it. But I probably won't read it on air because, who wants to get on air and just say, you have a bunch of people complimenting you and it just looks like you're just like, hey, look how awesome I am. I don't want to do that, but I will appreciate any email you send, anything you have to say about the podcast. If it's something, I don't know, maybe I'll read some stuff, but I'm not going to just read a bunch of stuff that's just, touting my ego. I I don't need to boost my ego any more than it already is. All right. With that, let's get out of here. Finally. Woo! Well, that went a lot longer than I thought it was going to go. But, hey, when you're excited about a new job, you're excited about a new job. So, if you are interested in Walmart, make sure you use my name, Todd McCann, and my driver number, 64804. Boy, how many times am I going to say that? Also, if you want the ebooks and the audiobooks, be sure to send me an email at truckerdump@gmail.com. I will get that out to you as soon as possible. I know a couple of you have done that, and that's great. I know one guy is having a problem. Kyle is having a problem downloading the ebook, or the audiobook, but we're going to figure that out, okay? So until next time, drive safe, stay out of my way.